Okay, let's talk about something you hear a lot. This perception that women in Islam are somehow denied basic rights, or that their roles are really, really limited.
Yes, that definitely comes up often. It's a view that, well, it causes a lot of confusion, frankly.
Right. So today, we're doing deep dive. We want to look closely at the source material, cut through some of that noise.
Exactly. The goal here is to pull out the key insights from the foundational text, from the history, and, try to separate fact from some pretty common misconceptions.
It feels important to clarify that.
It really is, for Muslims and non-Muslims alike, just to get a clearer, more informed picture.
So we've got sources that really let us explore what Islamic texts and history actually say about women's roles, their rights. Where should we start? The absolute core. Like, what do texts like the Quran guarantee right from the beginning?
Well, it's actually quite striking when you look at the historical context. The Quran explicitly commands the pursuit of knowledge, and not just for men. For all Muslims, men and women, zero distinction. This was centuries ago, remember, when female education wasn't common practice anywhere, really?
So that's explicitly stated.
Yes. The Prophet Muhammad saying, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim that includes everyone. It was, well, quite revolutionary. It essentially laid down a religious duty for women to be educated.
That really runs counter to some stereotypes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Okay, so education is foundational. What about money? Financial independence. There's this idea that women can't own wealth or manage their own finances. Does that hold up?
No, not according to the core texts. The Quran, especially in Surah An-Nisa, they often call it the chapter of women, has very clear verses.
Right.
Verses that confirm women's rights.
Yeah.
Rights to own property, to inherit property, and crucially to manage it themselves.
Manage it themselves, independently.
Completely. This was a huge break from many existing traditions at the time, both pre-Islamic Arabia and elsewhere. I mean, just look at Khadija.
The Prophet's first wife?
Exactly. Khadija bint Khuwailid. She was a highly successful businesswoman before Islam, ran her own large trading business.
Right, I've heard that.
And she continued managing her own affairs throughout her life. Her example alone just, well, it completely turns common assumptions on their head,
A powerful, independent businesswoman centuries ago, that does paint a very different picture. Okay, so if the foundational texts are so clear, education, property rights, financial control, why do we still see, or at least hear about, situations in some Muslim majority countries where women's rights seem restricted? Where's the disconnect?
And that's the absolutely critical point, the distinction between the religious teachings and cultural practices.
Okay.
Very often those restrictions you see, they come from local customs, from traditions built up over time. They are not rooted in Islamic law itself.
So culture, not religion.
In many cases, yes. Historically, Islam actually granted women legal standing and rights centuries before many other parts of the world caught up. But you might see, say, cultural pressures discouraging girls from higher education or from working certain jobs.
Right, like local interpretations or norms taking over.
Exactly, or even dictating dress codes beyond the basic religious guidelines. These are local traditions, sometimes very old ones, and it's a mistake to just equate them directly with Islamic principles.
That makes a lot of sense, separating those two. So thinking more about public life then, what was the Prophet's own view on women's education, their participation? Did he support it?
Very much so. He was a strong supporter. I mean, think about Aisha.
His wife, Aisha.
Yes. She became one of the most important scholars in early Islam. Her knowledge was vast theology, poetry, law. Both men and women sought her advice, her rulings.
A leading intellectual figure.
Absolutely. And that level of intellectual authority for a woman back then is, well, it's quite significant. We also have records of the Prophet appointing women as teachers, even in roles overseeing community affairs.
Okay, so education, finance, even public scholarships seem more open than stereotypes suggest. What about leadership roles, though? That's another common assumption, that Islam prohibits women from leading.
Yeah, that's a persistent one. But again, history tells a different story.
How so?
Early Muslim women weren't just scholars. They were political advisors. They contributed actively. Some were even involved on the battlefield in various capacities.
Really? Specific examples?
Sure. A great example is Shifa bint Abdullah. She was known for her wisdom and literacy, but she was also appointed as a market inspector in Medina.
A market inspector? What did that involve?
It was an official role.
Yeah.
Appointed by Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was the caliph at the time. She was responsible for ensuring fair trading practices, ethical conduct in the public marketplace, a significant public oversight role.
Wow. So a woman in a position of public authority appointed by a major leader.
Precisely. It really underscores how later cultural shifts sometimes obscured or even contradicted the original spirit and practice.
Okay, let's make this really concrete for you, the listener. Imagine a scenario. Let's say there's a university student, Nadia. She's smart, capable, wants to run for student council, but people in her community tell her, oh, good Muslim girls don't seek public leadership. Based on our dive, what's the perspective here?
Well, from an Islamic perspective, Nadia's desire to serve her community, to use her talents for leadership, that's actually commendable. It's praiseworthy.
So, not forbidden.
Not at all. The Prophet himself encouraged capable women to contribute their skills for the community's benefit. Her ambition aligns perfectly with Islamic principles of civic responsibility and working for the common good. It's about using God-given abilities.
That's empowering. So for listeners hearing this, maybe relating to Nadia or just wanting to challenge these misconceptions they encounter, what can people actually do?
That's a great question. There are practical things. First, start conversations. Gently, respectfully, but don't shy away from it. Second, point directly to the sources, to the Quran, to authentic hadith of Prophet's sayings and actions. Show what the religion actually says, not just what people assume it says.
Use the evidence.
Exactly. Third, celebrate role models. Talk about the achievements of Muslim women, past and present scholars, leaders, artists, scientists. Make their contributions visible.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, encourage critical thinking. Ask the question, is this restriction I'm seeing, is it really rooted in faith? Or is it a cultural habit, a tradition that's maybe gotten mixed up with religion over time?
Asking that why question.
Yes, is it faith or is it culture? That distinction is key.
Okay, so let's recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. We've seen the core texts, the Quran and the Sunnah, clearly affirm women's rights education, property, even leadership potential.
Absolutely. And it's so important to remember that many restrictions we might see come from cultural norms, not the religion itself. These shouldn't be confused.
History shows active participation.
Definitely. Muslim women historically were scholars, they were professionals, they were influential community leaders. The core message of Islam, when you get down to its principles, is one of dignity, spiritual equality, and enabling both women and men to reach their full potential.
This really drives home that vital difference, doesn't it, between foundational religious principles and how culture evolves and sometimes diverges.
It's a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
Not everything done in the name of a religion is actually from the religion's core teachings.
It really encourages you, the listener, to keep digging, right? To look into the origins of beliefs and practices you encounter.
Yes, always asking, is this rooted in authentic principles? Or is it an interpretation, maybe a cultural layer added later?
Definitely food for thought, and maybe something for you to consider as you go about your week. How does understanding this faith versus culture distinction in this specific context help us look at other complex issues? What happens when we clearly separate those elements? What does that mean for real empowerment?